The M3 body kit used in this build is provided by USCP. I will leave a link to their webshop in the description down below to where you can purchase your own. Other items used and tools as well can be found on thescalemodeler.com, and for overseas customers in the US, I will leave a link to Amazon where you can purchase those as well. In order to fit the M3 body kit, the only real modification that I needed to do was remove the old side skirts in order to glue on the M3 side skirts. The rear and front bumper were already removed by the kit itself, so those were just easily replaced and glued on. All of the panel lines were pretty good from factory, though I think they could be a bit deeper, so I just take out my Panelline scriber from Tamiya and scribe them out a little bit more, so I don't immediately fill them up after the first couple coats of paint. During the molding process, the bodies and other parts are mostly left with some mold lines. These are not supposed to be there, so I mark them off with a permanent marker to show me where they are, and then just carefully start removing them with a sanding stick, and once that black marker is gone, so should the mold line be as well. Once that was all finished up, I moved on to sanding the entire body with some 600 grit in order to get it nice and scuffed up and also a bit smoother before I could start applying the primer. The first coat was applied, so I set the airbrush aside for about 5 minutes and then started applying the second coat. I had the idea to paint this car green. I chose a green that I liked and I started applying the first coat, though that was a bit too light, so I switched my setup, added a couple coats of black to act as a nice dark base coat, and then the green will go on top of that to make it a lot darker. So the first coat of black is applied, I let that sit and dry for about 5 minutes and then moved on to the second and final coat of black before moving on to the green. Once I was happy with the way that the green looked, I moved on to applying 2 small decals on the front and rear badges, and then mixed up some clear and shot it on the body. The build I'm doing here is a track day weekend car and not so much a street car, so the interior on this one is fully stripped. The kit I'm using, of course, as a base is already a race car, so the exterior is just transformed into a normal street car M3, and the interior and chassis are full race spec. So I painted the interior white, added some red details, and also the rest of the parts were painted in a textured black to give it a sort of Alcantara or suede look. Some extra details and smaller parts and pieces were painted with a brush and some regular Vallejo paints. I also started adding some weathering to the main interior tub, as I thought that was a bit too white. On a race car of this age, it shouldn't really be that clean, so a bit of weathering was the answer for me. All of the small details were painted on, the decals were applied, so I could start assembling. The larger areas and parts were again painted with the airbrush in their main colors, and then some of the details were added on with a brush. All of the additional colors and details were painted on, it was weathered a bit, and I was ready to start assembly. The chassis and interior are now all together, so it's just time to finish off the rest of the body. The clear coat had set up for a couple days so I could easily start masking it off, carefully cut out all around the window trim and started painting that black. All of the other plastic trim around the bumpers was painted separately in the same manner you see here. A special thank you to USCP for sending out this fabulous body kit and transforming this boring 318 into an actual M3. I really like the way this build came out and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more on this particular build or many of my other builds, there are more videos on my channel. I will leave links to those and as well as all the products used in the description down below.